mate. What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
All right, yo, let's get into it.
Try to take over the world.
Preaching,
Try to take over the world.
And greatest chaplain in the world, Mr.
Try
Lance
to
O'Neill.
take over the world.
Yes. We are back. It is Sunday at 8:30, man. You know where your pogues are. Of course you do. We are back in the lab for another Sunday. And man, it is dark. Let me try to see if we can get some lighting going on in here. We got everything going on. I am back by the skin of my teeth. It's your boy KJ Bradley and the world's greatest chaplain, Mr. Lance O'Neill. Chappie, what up, man? How you doing this week, brother?
Good. Uneventful. Can't think of anything that happened eventful.
I know, man. If only this administration is so boring, man. They just, if only they would give us something to talk about. Either way.
Well, you know what's funny about that is, I think I told you this. After the election, I had a friend who's a white female who went all in on the anti-Trump. Like she would post stuff online that was just blatantly false, blatantly untrue. And then she was just, it's so horrible. I have to deal with this now, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there going, if you are this emotional because of the person that's in the White House for like 3 days, step away from the keyboard. You need to turn your computer off, go be with your kids, and stop worrying about it, because we are 3 days in. So, I mean, there's stuff obviously that's going to affect us down the road. Sure. Good and bad. We'll see how it all turns out. But to react like that after a couple of days, just
I don't know. She may have been a soothsayer. She may have been a soothsayer with the way everything's going, man. To be honest with you, let's jump into it, man. We got a lot to talk about. Sure. In a little bit of time to get it into. All right. So the first topic on hand, you got president number 45, president number 47, and potentially president number 48. So what we found out this week that So what we found out this week that POTUS said that he is not ruling out a third term. So his goal, we initially it was brought up and they was like, oh, it's rhetoric. But one thing we've learned so far this administration is, if you hear it more than once, it's not just rhetoric. Matter of fact, I believe in the interview, he was quoted as saying, I'm serious. I don't know. He's like, it's too early to tell, but I'm considering it. And I'm like, all right, cool. I got you. So what are your thoughts on opening the doors up? I mean, obviously it's, he's going to need congressional approval first. And then he's going to need the states to ratify it, at least 38, 39, I think, to even get a shot at it. But when you got the Senate in your pocket, and you got the House in your pocket, and you got the SCOTUS in your pocket, I'm not putting it past them to at least try.
That's not why. 3 words. First word, unconstitutional. You just covered it, right? Got to change the Constitution. We can't get the states together and say it's a bad thing to kill babies. Okay. So that one. But this is the more important 2 words. If you change the Constitution so that he can run a 3rd term, those 2 words are Barack Obama. Barack Obama beats Trump
handedly.
He just does.
I don't think POTUS wants the smoke. So the way the framework works is or hypothetically, if the administration were to war game it, from what I understand is, they would write it so as you can seek a 3rd term as long as your 2 terms aren't back to back. And that would essentially disqualify their greatest threat. But then again, to be honest with you, I don't know if the Obamas will be interested in doing that the 3rd time.
I do. I think the Obamas are as much power. Here's the thing that we've talked about this. Anybody who's president is a narcissistic, power hungry monger, right? You have to be. to want to actively go and become the president of the United States, to run the politics of it, to get to that point, you have to believe you are the greatest person in the world
Yeah.
to be able to sit down and be, I'm the only one who should be in this seat. That's not, and again, that's just how it is. That I don't care if that was Trump. I don't care if it was Obama. I don't care if it was Romney or McCain
Well,
or Reagan or Kemp, right? They all think that because in
yeah.
large part you have.
To be fair,
And
the Obamas
so,
have stayed out of the limelight though, unless called upon. Like they reluctantly come out to endorse people, but politically they've kind of kept their distance.
I don't know. I think it's very much like Clinton. When he left,
Oh
he
no,
was
no, no,
still
no. You
trying.
talking about the Obamas and the Clintons?
No, no. What I'm saying is, I think the Clintons worked behind the scenes. No, given part of it was because Hillary was actively trying to become president, and Michelle Obama isn't. But I think there were a lot of kissing the ring, going back to the Obamas and saying, "Hey, what should we do? Who should we?" I think the Obama administration or the Biden administration was, and it's fine. I don't necessarily have a problem with it because it's just how it works. But I think the Obama administration was basically 80-90% of the Biden administration, like all the people, all right? I think the people of the Biden administration were much more loyal to Barack Obama than they were to Joe Biden and the party, of course, the Tammany Hall of it.
So I'll give you
But
the party, but Biden had his own people. Matter of fact, I believe
he had
in
some.
well, no, they came out with the I can't remember the author right now, but I remember reading the biography about all that, and then they asked them, about the endorsement, about the Biden endorsement, and at first Barack was hesitant to endorse Biden because he had screwed him over with the Hillary thing, and they weren't really on good terms. So
Well, he wanted to wait until the primary played out.
no, this is I'm talking about the Biden. I'm talking about when Biden got elected in what 20 where are we 2020 2020
2020. That's what I mean, though. Obama waited until until Biden broke free of the pack,
oh yeah, you're right, yeah,
and
yeah,
then he
because
endorsed. So
yeah, yeah.
the question there would be, did Obama make a few phone calls and say, "Hey, we need to support Joe"? I
Well, he had to at
I
that
think there's
point.
high likelihood. However, what happened at that level of politics is so split. It's all those stories and whispers you kind of hear about Kobe and Shaq, or Karl Malone and Kobe and the Lakers, or whatever team, right? Whatever
Yeah.
team you follow, you always hear there's whispers about those. Oh, there's these stories that happen behind the scenes, but nobody. Oh man, if you only knew, if you only knew. It's like you don't know because nobody's going to talk. Now take that at an NBA level to the presidency. So
Well, I
we
was
don't
gonna
even
say they're
hear.
not gonna talk. Well, I don't know. This administration seems to talk a lot. You just got to get in the right chat groups apparently to get all the info.
Well, but again, you look at what happens. Usually, it's not done until afterwards, and it was such a breach of decorum. Like again, I go back to Mark Esper's book and what he wrote about what he did to basically undermine 45. Normally, you don't see books like that. They don't come out and say, "Hey, these are the inner workings. This is what was really going." Mattis, my guess is Mad Dog Mattis could probably write a 52 to 100 week on the bestseller New York Times list by
Easily,
writing a book that says my time in the White House,
easily,
right? Why doesn't he?
undisputed,
Because he
undisputed.
because he's got the decorum to say what happens in the White House is between me and the president, and it's not for fodder. So again, and again, if you here's the other side of that argument as far as the terms go, right? To me, if I'm a lawyer for the Obamas, let's say Barack Obama wants to run again, if you get that changed, all he has to do is say, "Well, wait a minute. So I just had my first two, and now I want my third because it's split." So Trump is saying he wants his two split, and then the second one on the back end. show me why one's other than the different.
Right.
So I understand the thought of if they say it, it might be true. But you know what? I can say over and over and over and over something that is just kind of in my brain that I like to bring up, whatever it is. Doesn't make it true, doesn't make it gonna happen. I'm just KJ, I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting it in the universe. I'm just wondering, what if what if the Dodgers traded for Acuna Jr.?
Well,
I
see,
think it could happen.
no,
What
no,
if?
no. See, we can't do that. No, we can't do that. Here's the difference, right? You can say that, right?
Because you're worried that might happen.
No. You can say you can say that, but you have absolutely no bearing on that. As President Trump, who has the DOJ in his hand, and let's be clear, Pam Bundy is far from impartial. She's gonna do whatever POTUS tells her. So if POTUS says, "Hey, yeah," well, besides the point, the point I'm making is if POTUS goes to Pam and says, "Hey, find a way to make this happen," she's gonna explore it, and that's just what it is.
Sure.
You
And
know,
she's
so
going to come back and say, the only way to do it is to get a constitutional amendment passed.
I don't
And
know.
we can push for it, but it's just not going to happen. You don't think? Okay, let me ask you this: then. If Barack Obama had gone to Eric Holder and asked the same question, do you think Eric Holder would have said, "No, I'm not going to look into it"?
No.
You know, I understand you're asking, but no.
But again, you comparing apples. The character of Barack Obama and the character of Donald Trump are two different things. Here's where that matters.
Doesn't matter.
No, that matters, and I'm gonna tell you why it matters. Because when Eric Holder comes back to Barack Obama and says, "Hey, man, the only way you can do it is if you get Congress to do it and then the states to do it," Barack Obama says, "All right, cool. It's a constitutional thing. My hands are tied." Right?
Yeah.
But what you have found in this administration is, even if Pam Bundy got a conscience and was able to say, "Hey, look, it's a constitutional thing. Our hands are tied," this POTUS is not gonna be done with it. This POTUS is gonna say, "Constitution be damned, find me a way," and he's proven it. Well,
I don't agree.
I mean, we can disagree. We can disagree, but I mean, they've proven it time and time again.
I don't think they have, and here's why I say that. There's a difference between saying something and doing something, and the reason I say that he won't is very simple. 45. We had all this same rhetoric when he got elected the first time.
You got to stop that. 45 and 47 are two totally different reigns, guy. It's just not. You can't. It's not. 45 had mechanisms in place, right? 45 had people in positions to where they was like, "Hey, man, this is a no-go. Stop." So no matter how hard 45 pushed, he couldn't get it through. Whereas in this administration, he learned and he put the people in place who's not going to tell him no. They're going to tell him, "Let's go. Let's see how far we can push it." Right. When we compare the range, but that's what I'm saying. When you compare the reigns of 45 and 47, it's completely different because the stopgaps and the protections that were there for 45 to keep him from being an absolute lunatic are not there as President 47. They're just not there.
Sure they are.
By who? Who in the administration do you believe is going to stand up to the president? Who?
The Supreme Court of the United States.
Oh, come on, man.
Hey, you cannot tell me. You can't look at the judgments that have come across in the last year and go, "Oh, the SCOTUS is in the pocket of the Republicans and the right." We've seen time and time again.
Yes, I absolutely can. You have empirical. All right, it's one thing to dispute opinion, but we have empirical evidence, man. We're not talking about we're not talking about we're not talking about Braves and Dodgers winning the World Series, man. We're talking about facts, man.
The only way, the fact is, the vast majority of decisions by the Supreme Court have been 7-2 or higher. Okay,
which has absolutely nothing to do with the tea in Indonesia right now.
Sure, it doesn't. You were just talking about history. You were just saying we've seen what he's doing, and what are the stopgaps. Here's the other one. What is the only? Okay, let's war game what you just said.
Sure, let's go.
Okay. The only way to get this done is a constitutional amendment, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right now.
And you're saying, even if Trump says, "F it," I'm staying in, and Constitution be damned. We'll change it. True. So we're actually going to take that next step towards because he's not fascist, but towards
He's not.
more.
Okay.
Well, what I mean is because fascism is a very specific thing, and people throw that word out. He's not a fascist,
Okay.
but he is a what we've talked about. He's a narcissist. All those things.
You're struggling to find a word to describe it without saying what he is. I got
a soft. If it went down that path, a soft dictatorship. Let's say that.
soft dictatorship now.
Well, sure, because he's still going to be under the guise of saying, "Hey, there's still a democracy." Blah 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 blah. Right? It's not going to be full martial law, except if it goes full martial law, and that's my point. The only way to do this, and the only way to do it, is to take control of the military in a way that it is. And people use the word again. They say it's a coup. It's not a coup. If you're already in office, you're consolidating power, and then you're using the military to stay in power. That's not a coup. That is the beginning of a dictatorship, right? Okay. So if he were to go down that path, I firmly believe that the military writ large would not support that. You might have some, I just think you would have too many people. You could have, let's say you had half of the general officers go along with that. Let's say. Well, the other half saying no way in hell, right? And I think the lower you go to the officer corps, it gets even wider. 30% say, no, we're not doing that. Or I'm sorry, 30% say we're supporting this, 70% say no. You get to the senior enlisted, it's 20-80. You get down the junior enlisted, and they're going, we don't know. What do we do? And the senior NCOs, but the senior, I have had this discussion with friends, not about Trump, but about previous situations, right? The average senior, you know this because you were an average senior NCO. The average senior NCO is going to go, there is no way in hell I'm going to do this because that is unconstitutional. I don't care what they say.
I disagree.
I know it's unconstitutional.
I disagree extremely because we happened to serve at the pleasure of the president when Barack Hussein Obama was elected. And being in those trenches and hearing those conversations, I can tell you emphatically that there is enough support and groundswell behind Trump. If he says, hey, look, I need your help to make sure that I am president for the rest of my life. There's just enough idiocracy in society to make that happen.
Are you saying that in the conversations you had in those trenches, people were saying, hey, if Obama wants to stay in, I'm there?
No. What I'm saying is in the conversation, what I'm saying is there was enough idiocracy for people in uniform to say dumb stuff against a POTUS who was in president. A POTUS who was in charge.
This guy's an idiot. That you had saying this guy's an idiot. This guy's
right. Well, not just that, and I'm not gonna do this, and I don't care what he says, and this, that, and somebody should, even to the point to where they would openly be discussing, and we're talking about in a talk, right? Openly discussing the simulated assassination and what would happen to a president. So I've seen the idiocracy of society. So it would not get past me that if POTUS was to call on his minions and say, hey, look, we need to keep this for and this is how he's going to play it. He's going to make up some story about the Democrats trying to take over, and the only way to save the republic is going to be him.
Okay, here's why I disagree, and then we'll move on to the next one. Here's why I disagree. Sure. We both, I'm sure, I know I have heard story after story, planning session after planning session. We're going to jump the first sergeant. The first sergeant's just a POS. This guy, man, somebody needs to teach him a lesson, and we're going to do it. How many first sergeants do you know that were attacked? I know zero, because it's this soldiers doing this. And I think even the average American. Now, at the same time, like, who got shot at twice here in the last election?
So I don't know, my man.
regardless. Yeah. And the dictatorial leader, and there's a lot, but it also goes back to the country. Fascists are the fascist leader gets his power from the homeland. It's I am America itself.
So
I am Germany itself.
I'm glad you brought that
I
up
am
because
Italy.
just this week,
Mhm.
a senator pushed forward a bill in the House to consolidate not a senator, a House rep, tried to push forward a bill to
That's
consolidate the
got
power
your
of
tin hat
the
on. Sorry,
Hmm?
that's got your tin hat on.
Does it?
Post it. That's
Oh,
got your tin hat.
I don't know if it came in the House, but it definitely didn't hit his ear.
What?
He was shot at, but it didn't hit his ear.
I've seen the video zoomed in where you literally see the hole punch appear.
Dude, look at his ear. His ear is completely regenerated. It's completely regenerated. Get the fuck out,
You know how
man.
many? It's cartilage.
Stop.
It's
Just
cartilage.
stop the bullshit.
Okay. It's
Listen,
easy.
Stop. That man did not get shot in the
Okay.
ear. We're not gonna do that. That man did not get shot. He was shot at. He may have been shot at, but he was not hitting the ear. He was not at 190 yards, not at 190 yards with a rifle. And the only thing he got was a scratch.
I think you're absolutely wrong.
Yep.
I 100% think you're wrong.
It is not the first time. It is not the first time. All right, we have to move on. All right, so second thing we're talking about is measles, right? Measles is the second thing we're talking about, and this recent update or outbreak.
Do you have the video?
Yeah, I'm gonna get it queued up right now.
This is great. I saw this. So while you're setting this up, my sister has been incommunicado for a while, and she texted me and say, "Hey, here's my number. Here's my new phone. Don't share it with other people. Blah blah blah." Right. And by the way, do you have a news source that I can use that is legitimate for the army? Something that's fair for the military? And I was like, no, I don't know of any down the center. But the reason I say that is I have found that probably the best source of getting information and news is just Twitter, is X, because you have such a wide range. I have such a wide range.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, what I'm saying is though, I get it from, dude, I get some far left loony bins, and I get some far right crazy kins. And so I get everything in the middle. So what I'm saying is, when news comes up and I see stuff, I'm able to go, oh, okay, that's interesting. That's the funny thing about this clip is I've seen this. I know I grew up on the Brady Bunch, right? It was all in syndication, and I knew all this stuff. So it's just interesting that, and just because I'm on X doesn't mean I see Thad with the smiling faces. I read. I have a subscription to the New York Times, to the Washington Post. I'm on Drudge, so I get all the stuff. I'm not sitting. I can tell you the funny thing about all this is I don't go to Fox News. Like, I'm not on Fox News. I don't watch Fox News. I don't go to foxnews.com. The only way I see something on Fox News is if it pops up through Drudge. Once in a while, I guess I could see something on X, but rarely. Most of the time, it's more local newspapers, which I really appreciate. I love local newspapers. A lot of Substack. Substack's great. I'm amazed. Greg Easterbrook, man, I love reading. If you haven't, shout out to Greg Easterbrook. If you don't subscribe to Greg Easterbrook on Substack for $5 a month, you are missing out. We need to get Greg on again, because just every week, I don't always agree with him, but every week
he always has,
there's something that makes me think about, and it's great. So hopefully we're doing that's the same for you. But measles, here we go.
Here we go.
Here. What are you doing home from school?
They sent me home. Measles.
It's either measles or a strange case of red freckles. You have got a temperature.
They told me 101.1. What's the record?
Never mind.
Oh, are you sure it's the measles?
Well, he certainly got all the symptoms. A slight temperature, a lot of dots, and a great big smile.
A great big smile.
No school for a few days.
Say hello to my dotted son for me. Tell him I'll bring him some comic books, and I'll see you later, dear.
Okay, honey, bye.
Boy, this is the life, isn't it?
Yeah, if you have to get sick,
Sure can't beat the measles.
That's right. No medicine, inside or out. Like shots in me.
Don't even mention shots. Yeah.
Measles, measles, measles. Well, all the kids have now had the measles.
So have I.
I had them years ago. Looks like the Brady's are finished with the measles.
Hold it.
Wah wah.
You're not through yet. Alice, don't tell me you're coming down with the measles.
Oh, I hope so. I'd hate to think I was just learning how to blush at my age.
Dad says I should go to school.
7 students confirmed with measles, 4 others possible.
Wow, they had to have been vaccinated.
These moms never vaccinated their kids and lied about it. Vaccines are harmful. You are endangering the health of every child in
Here. What are you doing home from school?
They sent me home. Measles.
It's either measles or a strange
I think
case
that-
of measles.
You have got it.
All right.
I want to see SUV go in and bust in on Carol Brady. Why haven't you done that? What's wrong with you? Why haven't you vaccinated your kids?
So go ahead, my esteemed colleague. This is your thing. I am definitely pro-vaccination, but I will let you rock.
So am I.
I'll let you cook.
No, I'm absolutely pro-vaccine as well, right? I do think it's funny, though, that when you're talking about some of these diseases, that, yeah, for us, it used to be, and this is not to say, again, that you shouldn't have your kids get the MMR. Absolutely fine. When people say there's, what's in the mercury? Oh, there's active mercury in the vaccines. No, there isn't. It's methyl, or I think it's called methyl mercury, ethyl mercury, something like that. It's not toxic. I do question. I've had this question, and with our oldest, we thought about this. When you go in now and you get all these shots in kids, it's what 73 different shots before they're 5 or something like that, or 73, not shots, but vaccines. We actually spread ours out. We did it where we were on a cycle where it was much more spread out, and we didn't see a difference as far as her health goes versus our other kids because it was one of those trial things that we tried. But it's the media part of it, right? Everything has to be now so over the top, and oh my gosh, the measles, we got to clean everything. It's the post-COVID that the lessons of COVID haven't been learned. And again, this is not to say that everything that came out of COVID was bad. Like the one thing people have forgotten, the best thing that came out of COVID is, hey, wash your hands. You should be washing your hands 3 or 4 times a day. And I still see people coming out of the latrine without washing their hands. It blows me away.
Insane.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's just crazy. I used to laugh because the most common people I saw coming out of the latrines back in the day were the officers. And I was like, are you kidding? I think I've told you this story. I was in the latrine. This was now, oh gosh, about probably 12 years ago. I was a senior NCO, little reserve unit in Jasper, Alabama.
Yeah.
Well, the other there were 2 units in this building, and the other unit was having their drill weekend. And so I'm in the latrine, finishing up at the urinal, and a guy comes out of the stall. I finished washing my hands. He comes out of the stall and goes right out, and I follow him. I'm literally, my hands, just wash my hands, walk out. I'm like, catch the door, because he just opened the door with those hands. So I'm like, oh, catch the door. And I walk out, walk down the hallway and around. So about 5 seconds down the hallway, I say, hey, soldier. And he turns around and says, yeah. I say, you didn't wash your hands. He goes, well, I used hand sanitizer. Oh, you didn't? Yeah, you didn't see me do it. It's like, in the hallway? He goes, yeah. I said, no, I've been right behind you. Get your ass back in there and wash your hands. I think he was an E5, and again, I was an E7. So his UA, the unit administrator, right? The unit administrator comes in. He's an E8, and we're friends, and he comes in. "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" We kicked the guy that shut the door. He's like, "Hey, that was kind of disrespectful what you did to my sergeant." I said, "Oh no, it isn't." He goes, "Well, you shouldn't have said that in front of everybody." It's like, look, if he had said, "Oh, whoops, sorry," and turned around and went back, I wouldn't have said anything about it. That dude came out of the latrine, out of the stall without washing his hands, touched the door, and then lied to my face about it. So did I call him out at that point? Yeah, and I'll do it again. If you want to have a formation right now for me to apologize, I will come out and apologize that I wasn't bigger than that, making it a bigger deal. That's a big deal. So this measles stuff, I really think it's very interesting, um, because the politics are getting in the way of it, right? The Trump administration was the one who came up with the vaccine for COVID, right? Which pretty clearly does not work the way it was intended or the way it was sold. All right. So let's be fair about that, right? And the funny thing is, if you remember when that was being pushed, all the Democrats, "Oh, I'm never taking anything. I'm not taking that shot." Right. And then Joe Biden won, and suddenly it was, "Oh, we have to take the shot. We have to take." Now, I don't know what the switch was. I think it had something to do with a certain, I don't know, billionaire who had a lot of pharmacy in his portfolio, maybe a couple, but that got pushed. And now we have this pendulum in America, right? And it goes back and forth. And now we have RFK Jr., who says, "Well, the pendulum swung so far here on everything." Okay, I love my wife. I have told her this. When my kids have something going on, something like my son, his foot's kind of hurting. He's got a blister. We thought it was a callus. It's a blister on the ball of his foot because he's playing lacrosse and he's playing soccer. He's just all the time. And cleats, as you know, soccer cleats have almost no padding, right? So it's really been bothering him. And my wife was like, "It's vitamin deficiency. Like, he's not eating enough of good food." Okay, cool. And then my younger daughter, she's been sick and it's vitamin deficiency. Okay. I was like, "Hey, yeah, you're right. They probably don't eat enough. They're not doing a good job." We go outside and the dog goes up the hill and he eats the grass. My dog since we've got him, it's been a year and a half. My dog is a goat. He goes out and he eats the grass. And she says, "It's a vitamin deficiency." And I looked at her and said, "Not everything is a vitamin deficiency." Like, I don't mean to be mean, but it's kind of like, that can't always be the answer, right? Because I'm probably vitamin deficient as well, but I do pretty well. I'm for a 52-year-old. I'm 52, I think. I do pretty well. So it's just funny because when you look at these things, and again, I think it's genetics. I think we really miss a boat on genetics because my mother-in-law passed away now a few years ago. She had breast cancer, and then she rang the bell, and that weekend she had a different episode, and turned out she had a new brain cancer, and it killed her within like 2 months. Yeah. So she even rang the bell, cancer free, and then within 2 months she was dead from brain cancer. And this woman, she worked for a chiropractor. She took all the supplements. She said, white bread is. I'm trying to remember, but it's if you're dead if you eat white bread. Something, one of those little sayings. And so she was incredibly healthy as far as how she ate things, and she died at 60, early 60s from cancer. So I think that we are overreacting with the measles. I think that we are overreacting in a lot of ways. Instead of having, what's the way to put it? Instead of having a Joe Rogan conversation, because we both know Joe Rogan listens to people and he can be swayed by who he's talking to, right? Joe could have a RFK Jr. on and be like, "Oh, vaccines are going to kill you," and then the next week he could have somebody else on that is what kind of doctor makes vaccines? A vaccinationer? There's a word for it that I'm blanking on. But he could have somebody else come on and be like, "No, this is how the science is," and Joe would be like, "Oh, well, that's great." you know, because Joe doesn't really push back because
Yeah.
Joe's very much I don't know. Hey, I'm willing
Yeah.
to listen to both
Yeah,
sides.
if you got facts and I can verify them, then I'm cool with it. That's one thing I don't talk about him. He is not
he's great about it, right?
within
Yeah,
one side or the other. Yeah.
yeah. But unfortunately, he weather vanes quite a bit based on who's in front of him, how convincing they are, and I think that's true of everybody. That's not just Joe. I think if we have somebody here who has more knowledge than we do on a subject, we are much more likely to listen. Oh yeah, that's really. And then if we had somebody that had a disagreeing, would go, oh wait a minute, oh yeah. So that's nothing against Joe Rogan at all.
Yeah.
But I just think that we're in that, and this goes for the whole politics situation we're in right now, let alone just RFK Jr. with the measles. We're just in that adjustment period. We're in that the pendulum swung on the Biden for the last 4 years, swung whatever way you want to call it, right, left, up, down, and the administration that's in charge now wants it to swing back the other way. And this is where I get worried. Instead of, you've been to an amusement park, they all have them, the big boat ride, right?
Yep.
And it goes, boom,
Yep.
boom, right? Never liked that ride. I think I've ridden it one time, didn't like it. That is not the ride for me. And there's people that like to be on the edges, so that when it goes, they're not just up, they're a little bit upside down, looking down. I don't get it, right? But that's where they have fun, and I think some people are having fun with this. I personally, I like to see it. Hey, you know what? If it's a nice simple shift back and forth, cool. We're gonna get that naturally, but over the last couple of decades, we've got to the point where everything has been so big and so back and forth. Right, but that there's who develops, and maybe you'll check it while we're doing this. What type of doctor develops vaccines and specifically deals with vaccination?
I don't know. I know the director of the CDC was a highly regarded
vaccination guy,
highly regarded scientist in these matters, and he decided to resign. This regime was crazy.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But let me ask you this: how much, with what has come out now, and what we now know about COVID at all, how much do you trust what Fauci was saying? Virologist. Yes. Thank you, Thad. Well, that's a virologist is virals, but is that what it's called for somebody who does immunizations?
Hold on a sec. I got you right here. Hold on. So we're going.
Doctor who specializes in vaccines and immunologists.
So boom. Let me see if I can get that.
Vaccinologist. Huh. Okay.
All right. So no,
that seems too simple.
But see, here's the thing. I don't trust Fauci, right? I didn't trust Fauci. And had it not been mandated, I probably wouldn't have gotten the shot. Like I said, my kids didn't get COVID shot, but with my wife not being military, and they've stuck us with God knows only what for the last 20-something years. One more shot wasn't going to kill us, or one going to kill us any faster. So at the end of the day, for me, it comes down to a personal decision. Now, where I have an issue with is having the right people in the right positions to make informed decisions. What we have now is a director of human and health services who says absolutely lunatic level stuff like, oh, black people don't need immunizations because their DNA and their bone density is different, so they're fine. Or he'll say something to the effect of, oh no, it's no different. Getting measles is no different than catching a cold. Everybody should go out and get measles. Probably not the best advice, man. But that's what you get when you put people who don't know any better and who don't want to listen to those in charge. And if you have a different opinion than the person in charge, instead of listening or at least respectfully disagreeing, you fire them. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves, in addition to a myriad of others with this administration. That's one of the biggest pet peeves I got with this administration. Not only do you not have people who don't know they ask from their appetite, excuse my language, in this administration, they're not willing to listen to the experts. And instead of listening to the experts, they'd rather just fire them. And that kind of
question.
All in itself has issues.
Let me ask you a question. What kills more, the flu or the measles? What has a higher death rate?
When you're talking about
mortality rate. Mortality rate.
Over the last 20 years, I'd probably say the flu.
Just in general, if you catch the measles or if you catch the flu, because if you've had the vaccine, you're not going to get the measles. But if you have the measles, what's the death rate? What? Excuse me. What's the mortality
rate? If you're unvaccinated and you get measles versus if you don't get the flu shot and you get the flu, which one's more likely to kill you? If that's what you're asking.
Well, regardless, if you get the flu or you get so the mortality rate for measles is 1 to 2 per 10,000. That's 0.01% to 0.02%. Okay, 1 or 2 per 10,000. For the flu, the mortality rate for 65. Now, overall, I can't see everybody because it doesn't have breaking down for everybody. But you know how measles is for kids and flu's for older.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. With the flu, the mortality rate is different because the older you get, the more susceptible you are to not be able to fight it off. Whereas with the measles, the older you get, like if you're a 6-month-old baby or a 6-week-old baby, it's going to be more difficult for you to survive the measles as opposed to being a 13, 14-year-old kid.
So seasonal influenza, the estimated overall mortality rate linked to influenza is 13.8 deaths per 100,000 people each year. So cut that down to 10,000. That makes it 1.38. 1.38 per 10,000.
Right.
Measles is 1 to 2 per 10,000.
Right.
So it's almost the same.
Yeah, but it's not though, because the measles doesn't mutate. The flu changes every season. So the flu is constantly mutating. The measles has been the same. And we got to keep in mind that the measles was essentially eradicated. Matter of fact, I think they declared it eradicated a couple of years ago. So it was done.
I don't think so. Measles has always been one that's kind of still popped up.
No, they did, but I think the US declared it as done in like 2020 or something like that.
Well, they've also declared polio to be gone and smallpox to be gone. And
blah, well, yeah, but I mean, again, you gotta at behest of the HHS. If these people keep listening to them, we may see it right. I mean, polio is cool, man. It's retro. We should bring that back.
I'm not against vaccines. That said, I think the debate is more about, because this is what you said. And I agree with this, for the record, I am 100% with you. If the COVID shot hadn't been mandated, I wouldn't have gotten it. And my kids and my wife didn't get it. Now your wife's different because she's,
right.
Right. Well, I'm with you. And one of the reasons I didn't get it was because I think as kids, the death rate, like early on, I was following this going, why is anybody under 50 even getting this shot? You don't need it if you're under 50, unless you're morbidly obese, right? And so that's where I was going. And I think the argument here, because I've never heard, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you haven't, please correct me, but I have never heard RFK Jr. or anybody in the federal government say, don't get the polio shot. Do not get the measles shot. Do not get these vaccines. What I've heard is, look, you're the parent. This is between you and it. Ironically, it's the abortion argument. This should be between you and your doctor, you and your family, what you want to do.
That's that crazy, but that's that crazy gotcha, right? So you'll hear the official statement. I can't tell you what to do. You should seek a doctor's advice, right? And that's the official statement of the HHS, right? But then you'll have all these supplemental interviews where you got RFK Jr. saying off the wall shit like, oh, measles gives you radiation poison, or vaccines give you radiation poison, or you know what I'm saying, something crazy. So which part do I believe? Am I supposed to believe? If I'm listen, but what I'm saying though, if I'm already cynical of the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the government says, and his official posting says, hey, check with your doctor, wink, wink, before you get the vaccine to make sure you make an informed decision, right? So that's what he says officially. But then I see all these other interviews where he's talking about, oh, vaccines, you know, cause all the clouds to piss out silver. So stay away from, you know what I'm saying, just outlandish, crazy stuff that he does, that he's prone to say. Which am I more prone to believe? Am I going to sit back and say, well, do I believe him in a more relaxed setting where he looks more trustworthy and comfortable, or do I believe him in an uncomfortable official capacity when I already don't believe or trust the government? Where am I likely to fall in that believability rate? And that's where I think we have an issue, because too many people are smart enough to know that they don't know, but they're not smart enough to decipher what information is best, right? Because RFK has his kids vaccinated. RFK Jr. is vaccinated, right? Everybody in his circle is vaccinated. And here's where I draw the line, right? What you do with you and your family, if you don't want to get a single vaccination, hell, if you don't ever want to go to the doctor in your life, that's on you. Where it becomes an issue is if I have a newborn kid in a public place who's too young to get the vaccine, you have then taken my choice out of my hand, right? So now you have infringed.
I've made this exact argument. Yes.
You've infringed on my right to make the decision for me and my family.
Yeah.
And that is not allowed, right? So I'm cool with what you do. If that's what you choose to do, then you have to make that choice. Then we can't, what you should do, and that goes back to our people inherently good conversation, because they're not. Those people who are unvaccinated and had the measles, they still sent their kids to fucking school.
Okay, so that's where the catch is, right?
Well,
because here,
not even school, but they send them to public places as well too.
I'm with you on the 12 months old. I have made that exact argument with you, okay, or not with you, but I've made that exact argument. Look, if you're unvaccinated and I'm at the park and your kid's at the park and he's 6 and my kid's under 12 and can't get under 12 months and can't get the vaccine, and your kid isn't vaccinated and is now a carrier, my kid's at risk. I've made that exact argument.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay. So then the other side is, because even the Democrats will say, hey, this is between you. We think you should absolutely get the vaccine, but it's still between you and your you and your doctors. Okay,
exactly.
Right? But here's where, to me, the other side of the distrust is, yep, it's between you and your doctor, but we've set up so that you can't go to this school. You can't be in school if you don't have the vaccine, right? Now, here's where the argument, and this was the COVID argument, which was, you have to get the vaccine because I'm unsafe. Wait a minute. You got the vaccine, right? Yes. So you're protected. Yes. So if I don't get the COVID vaccine, how does that affect you? Like, you're telling me that you have your pants on and your pants are protecting you.
Right.
But if I urinate on myself, you're gonna get pee all over you? Wait, what? How's that work? If we're both wearing pants, but I choose to urinate on myself, that doesn't affect you.
Cool.
Right?
Allow me to bust that theory up for you. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the thing. It's not about the children.
I'm talking only about urine, by the way.
No, I got you. And
not airborne. Not
I got you. So it's not about. So there's an efficacy rate, right? So we know you get the shot of the vaccine, it's 90%, and it's good up until, let's say, 18, 25 years old, right? Right. So the longer you
booster in your teens, MMRs in your teens, you get another.
I think so, like at 12 or whatever, right? So yeah, I'll give you 30, right? 30. So what's the average age of our teachers? Take a wild guess.
Average 26.
No, not even close. Close.
Really older.
Yes. 42. 42. Really? Because young people aren't getting paid enough to put up with the kids' BS. And the people who've been teaching have been teaching so long that they don't want to do anything else. So you have an older population. So it's not just about the student, and that's where these issues tend to get isolated, right? They'll say, "Oh, well, if you're vaccinated, then there should be no issue." Yeah, you're absolutely right. However, there has to be a case for public safety, right? We can't risk putting people who are higher risk because you chose not to, because at that point you have taken the choice out of everybody else's hand for selfish reasons. That's crazy.
So again, this is devil's advocate is all I'm
doing.
I'm with you. Okay. All right. So you're arguing for the mandatory the other side of this, the devil's advocate side of this, not my side, the devil's advocate side of this is if you're 42 and you're higher risk, then you go get your vaccine and you go get your measles shot. And then it doesn't matter if the kids have measles because you're supposed to be covered, right?
But so you can't make that argument. How can you tell one person, oh, they have to go get it safe because this person chooses not to get a shot, but you can't tell that person to go get a shot? You get what I'm saying? Like, how can you mandate one side to do something, but you're not willing to mandate the other side?
That's the point. That's the point. It shouldn't be mandated. That's kind of the argument: is should it be mandated or not?
I agree. But I'm saying that the comment.
You're saying right. So if you're saying the kid has to be vaccinated to get into school, and again, devil's advocate. Let me be real clear.
That's what I'm saying. If he chooses to go to a public school where public funds are paying for it, he has to be vaccinated. Now, there are private schools who have their own rules, and he's more than welcome to take those options.
Why? But this is where we get into the meat of the argument. You just said because it's a public school, right?
Right.
Public school meaning they get their funding from local, state, federal government, right? So we're talking about a publicly funded, therefore government institution, government controlled. Okay,
that's right.
So that's kind of where the argument becomes: is if you're already distrustful of the government and you don't believe the government. Now, again, if the idea is the vaccine works, and even over time it delays, and so you have to get your booster, you have to get a booster shot for tetanus, you have to get. I had my shingles shot last year because I'm over 50. So I get all the shots. The only shot I don't get is the COVID one because I think the COVID one did not get tested well, and there's too much information out there that makes me think the COVID one actually has a higher likelihood for a vaccine injury for me than others. Okay, awesome, Liberty. So, but that's where so Liberty. Let me ask you, Liberty. I want a response on this, and we'll let you know what Liberty says. Liberty, did you get the vaccine boosters because you agreed to, or because you were told to that you had to? Because I think that when you're starting to talk about, let's go back to the teachers. If the school says to a teacher, hey, you're in your 40s, your MMR, you haven't had your we don't, first of all, schools don't check the teachers. I guarantee you they don't check the teacher shots. They only check the kid shot, right?
Possibly, sure.
Oh, there's no way they check the teacher. The teacher, you think the teachers union is going to let the teachers have their medical records seen by an administrator? Right. Because you agreed to. Right. There you go. So I have no problem with personal preference. I have no problem with any shots as far as the proven vaccines. I think the biggest problem is when the government gets involved with stuff, right? And we can kind of expand this idea. And the idea is these vaccines are basically a chemical cocktail that, and I don't mean chemical in a bad way. I mean, you just have something that is, makes it possible to give you a shot, Smallpox was a chemical, the smallpox vaccine. They took it out of somebody's, and then they injected you basically with smallpox, with the dead virus from the pus. Okay, so it is a chemical thing. That's not the problem. So it's a chemical process that you're injecting into your body, and the government goes, okay, this is good. This is what we should do, and we're protecting you. And if there's a vaccine that actually has a high rate of TB and shots. Okay, I'm guessing that's by the state by state. So I don't know, but I'll believe you that. So, but you have to have this shot that goes in your body, right? And we trust the government. We trust the government to say this is good. This is what we're supposed to do. Da, 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 right? But the government is so easily manipulated that back in the 70s, there was a chemical that was developed by, I believe it was by Dow. And this chemical was proven safe. Like kids would be out playing as the clouds of this chemical went through. And it would kill mosquitoes. It was the most effective thing that killed mosquitoes, DDT. DDT was the most effective way to kill mosquitoes by far. And mosquitoes carry malaria. Malaria, to this day, is still one of the most deadly diseases in the world, especially in the third world. There was a woman, and I'm blanking on her name, who went to Congress and said, DDT is bad for you. DDT will kill you, and it will kill kids, and we have to stop DDT. It is the worst thing in the world. And she wrote a book. It was something Deadly Spring, I think is what it was called, something like that, right? So she wrote this book, and there are no poison risks of DDT. Like there are kids that were running around and there were no ill effects. But she was so in her mind, and she wrote this book, got in front of Congress. Congress went and said, hey, we need an investigation on this. They went and did the investigation. Like the government did the investigation. The CDC did it, and all the powers of the federal. And they got the report back. And the report said, perfectly fine. DDT is good. But we need to ban it because what she said in this book, it's scary. And what if she's right? Now, we have the science of it. We have all the proof that it's fine. So this one woman, and I'm blanking her name, you could arguably say that she killed more people than Hitler. Because people in the third world to this day die by the hundreds of thousands every single year. And now it's been almost 60 years, 50, 60 years. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people die every year from malaria, which DDT would have not eradicated, but come pretty darn close, right? So the government, I have a big problem whenever the government says you have to do something, and KJ just posted it. Tuskegee, absolutely. Hey boys, we want to give you an experiment. We want to just, you know what, KJ, you go. For those that don't know Tuskegee, KJ, go.
Nope. Hey, look up the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. I'm not in the business of educating history, man. There's enough. Let's just say there's enough evidence to where you don't have to convince me not to trust the government. Like I said, I am the most conservative government conspiracist you'll probably ever meet. I don't trust the government one bit. At the same time, I am a diehard patriot. So figure that out on your own. Are you ready to get into some controversial stuff for our last 30 minutes?
Ooh, what do we got? I don't know what's coming up.
You'll see. All right, here we go. This is good. We're going to have fun with this one.
I'm waiting for you to have one that I actually really care about. Most of the stuff, it's like, get the vaccines, but I'm going to argue.
Hold on. Oh, wait. Oh, I pressed the wrong one. Ah, no wonder it wasn't playing. I got to play it here.
Play it inside, yeah. Let's
that's
just listen to it ourselves.
There we go. All right, now that everybody's caught up.
Am I supposed to know who this is, or is this just a random?
No. This is just another generic. Just another generic.
Let's see. You need black
people.
Hold on. Here we go.
I want y'all to watch this video of this die-hard black Trump supporter who berated black people all during the election and after. She even called Trump her daddy, and now she's asking for black people help. Watch this video, y'all. Watch this nonsense.
Stop scrolling real quick. I just need you guys' support in helping to free my son. My son is 23 years old, and he is currently facing 21 years of incarceration due to racial injustice. My son was defending himself, And unfortunately, most Black and brown people, individuals, whether you are a man or a woman here in Colorado, do not have the right to use self-defense. The judge denied my son self-defense. Therefore, that same judge sentenced my son to 21 years in prison. Right now, I am fighting to free my son. I have a strong appellate attorney and an attorney team, but right now we just need some support to put the word out there that racial injustice within the Black and brown community has gotten out of hand, and enough is enough. So if you guys could just simply engage with this post, I'm not asking for any type of monetary value or any type of assistance or anything like that. I just need for you guys to engage with this post, to put it out in the algorithm so the word will get out there. So let's start from the bottom. Share the video, favorite the video, and if you guys could comment hashtag enough is enough.
Baby girl, you found your family when you went and voted for Trump, and you downplayed all the Black people and say you found your family. I know you not asking for help from Black people. I know you not. You can't be this dumb thinking you're going to vote against us. 20 seconds. Talk bad against Kamala and everybody else. Then tell somebody to share and make this a weapon. Are you fucking crazy? You will get no help from none of us. You better call Mac.
Okay, so I brought this up because this has been this has been a recurring theme in my beloved community, right? Where you've had people who, you know, let's call them allies or like physical attributes of the Black community, right? However, for whatever reason, they decide to go against their own interest or whatever, you know, which is well within their right. But what we have a tendency to see though is when things hit the proverbial fan, when shit goes bad, when shit gets rough for them, they don't lean on the family or the people. In this case, she didn't appeal to the MAGA community to get her, you know, to support her incarcerated son when he was found of injustice. She wanted the same people who she had constantly berated and talked bad to and called all kinds of idiots to come out now and support her because, you know, we need to all be together. So I bring this up because how do you support someone of a different political leaning when they, you know, when they so staunchly to the point of personally making it personal? I know you got people in your family and your circle who have extreme, you know, differing political views than you do, and I have in mine as well. So I figured this would be a fun 30 minutes to kind of talk about, if you want to. Yeah,
well, I mean,
yeah. In this case, Liberty, it is, and I'll get into that. I'll get into that a lot.
So that was my first response. Was the narrator is making this? Ironically, he's the one race baiting on this, right? There's a lot of assumptions. We had a 60-second video, right?
Yep.
So, okay. And Thad, here's the funny thing that you just said. People don't care until the problem comes to their doorstep. It's never been on my doorstep, but KJ and I have had long discussions about the need for a judicial overhaul, and that there are issues with the justice in this country and some of the racial things. And if we want to review, this is the argument I made. It was basically, okay, so you're a white judge or a Black judge or a brown judge, it doesn't matter, right? And now you can go in and you can say, well, that's not true. Okay, this is just a scenario. It's not accurate. This is just descriptive.
I love it when we got to start with disclaimers.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the argument: is if you have a judge up there, and because of, now you can say it's unfair because the police only go after Black people. There's more Black people in the cities. Blah 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 blah. Right? Okay. The judge sees 9 Black people come in front of him in a row, and it doesn't matter what they did. Right? Parking tickets, speeding, assault, grand theft auto, theft, blah 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 blah. And then the 10th guy is a white guy. Does the judge, whatever racial background the judge is, does the judge look at that and go, oh, at least this guy's not a black guy or girl, right? And so, well, because of that, you know what? 6 months, right? And it's unfair. I'm just saying that as a possibility. And KJ and I, we've talked about this, and unfortunately, the fix can't happen because constitutionally, it bumps up against the right to be in front of your accuser. Because the only fair way, like justice is blind, Lady Justice, right, has the blindfold. What should happen, and the only way to make it fair, is that a defendant basically comes up behind a screen, and all you hear is the voice. And even then, you can tell some people socioeconomic, some of the accents. You are more likely to hear certain people have certain accents, and so you can kind of unfairly judge from those. So maybe you have to go to transcript, right? And it says, this person, you can't even say male or female, was an adult, can't say what age, is accused of stealing a car, can't say where, because now you might identify somebody because of the neighborhood. And they are saying they didn't do it. Okay. How do you judge that fairly? Because you can't see the person, you can't hear him. All you have is accused of. Is that even enough to hold somebody? I don't know. The police say, here's the basic information, but now the basic information is you can't even go into, hey, we have a camera, we have a video of this person. Well, the judge can't see the video because now you know if it's male, female, white, black, brown, purple. So the answer is you can't do it. So there's going to be bias. There's going to naturally be bias no matter who it is. It might be a white judge saying, oh, I don't like these black people. Or it might be a white judge going, hey, I'm going to give the white guy a little more leeway. And ironically, I think we've talked about this. You have a black judge who might go, you know what? I'm going to be more harsh to these black kids because they should know better. Right. I think the stats, you said that the stats were that black judges were actually more harsh towards other black individuals. Right. So are we going to get to the point where AI is the only thing that AI is able to look at and go, oh, here's fair. Here's what the fairness is. As far as the political view goes, all right. If you have listened to us at all, you know that my older brother and I could not be further apart politically. Just can't be. He is an expat living in Germany who is a far leftist who believes that crystals protected his children, thinks the U.S. government is just absolutely, Trump is a full-on Hitler 2.0, blah, blah, blah. And I'm a conservative, militaristic chaplain. Right? If my brother and I have not had a real conversation well over 10 years. I mean, I saw him when my dad died in 2020 on the video camera, and he actually said something kind of asshole-ish, which was very consistent for him. But if he called me up and said, hey, man, I really need help. I'm having a problem with whatever. I follow you on Facebook, and I know that you have this contact that you know that might be able to help. Would you be willing to help? Of course, because it's family, right? KJ, you and I disagree on a lot of things. If you called me up, you know I'm there for you, right? I have friends that are. I have a friend that is an avowed communist who lives in Seattle. We used to have debates all the time. If he called, and we have not spoken face to face in over 20 years. If it was within my power, if he called me up or sent me a IM that said, "Hey man, I'm really struggling. I'm really in trouble. Could you help me out?" I would do it. If it was reasonable within my power, sure. Because those friendships, that's what makes friends. That's what makes loyalty. And I think the premise of that video by saying, well, here's a woman who supported Trump. The implication is that because she supported Trump, she turned her back on her blackness. She turned her back on her That's the implication of the video.
I know. To give you a little backstory on it, she has on her Snapchat, her Instagram, and her Twitter. It's not that she is just a MAGA voter. She has been extremely negative toward the Black community. So it's like well, I'll tell you why that matters, because there's a certain, I don't know why, but America has gotten so comfortable with writing bad checks to African Americans that it's almost a given that no matter what I do, or no matter how egregious the issue is, Black America is gonna forgive me. And you got God, pick a celebrity, right? OJ wouldn't even associate with the Black community. The minute he got caught up with his accident, the first thing he did is he ran to a Black church. Right? It's almost like
caught up with his what now? I've never
accident.
heard it called an accident.
So what I'm saying is people will use the Black community almost as a redemption story, right? So no matter what I say, Biden did it. Biden was in the 80s. Biden was an abject racist. I mean, if you can,
it still is.
If you can look at what Trump has said and call him a racist, then I will present to you Joseph Biden, Senator Joseph Biden in the 80s and early 90s. You'd probably have a completely different view of Senator Biden, right?
For sure. And if you go back, and the funny thing is, if you look back then, Biden and Trump would have, because in the 80s, Trump was an icon in the Black community.
Exactly.
He was a badass dude. Yeah.
But see, I bring that point up to say that Obama rehabbed Biden's reputation. You know what I'm saying? So much so to the point to where now people would be like, "Oh, I love Joe Biden." No, Joe Biden hasn't fucking changed. He's still the same guy. He just got cred, or as the people like to say, is cred, right? So they tend to use Black people as these redemption stories and writing bad checks, and this video is apparent of that, right? So she went to her MAGA community, right? Who she championed for and stumped for and turned her back on her community for, and what she found out really quickly was the love was not reciprocated, right? So she was essentially a nomad at that point. So what she's trying to do now is come back and say, "Oh, well, we need to rally together, Black people as a people, because it's racial injustice." Well, where the fuck was the racial injustice when you were talking all that trash for the last couple of years? It's like, and you can respectfully love somebody, right? You can, because I have a conservative friend of mine who is extremely conservative, much like this young lady, right? And I love that friend to death. But at the same time, I'm all about lessons, right? If you decide to step your butt over a ledge, right? If I say, "Hey man, don't go over there, there's a ledge over there," and you decide to go too far to that ledge and you decide to fall off, you can't then call me and say, "Hey, help me. Now's the time for help." No, the time for help was when I was telling you there was danger ahead and you told me to fuck off, right? Because you knew better than me, right? So when you find yourself,
hold on. That's a great analogy, though. Let's use you and me. I'm on that ledge. I'm walking. I'm going, "Hey man, I'm going," and you're like, "Don't go over there. Hey, that's unstable ground, man. Don't go over there." I'm like, "Yeah, but I really want to go see the view." Doesn't matter. It's unsafe. You're going over. Ground gives way, and I'm hanging there by my fingertips. I'm like, "AJ, help!" You're going, "Fuck you, man."
No,
not to go over there. Really?
Going, "Hey man, I told you." But I'll give you I'm glad you brought that up, because I'll give you an example, right? Throughout this whole build up for Trump, what was one of the major concerns I told you? I said it was never about him. It was about the people he surrounded himself with.
Yeah,
right?
You said it. Yeah,
and I beat that drum. And your whole thing was, let's just wait and see. Let's just wait and see, right? So the more we wait and see, the more evidence we build, right? So I can't at this point, you know what I'm saying? If you were to get to a point, right? So it's like, I'll give you an example. I had a veteran buddy of mine who was a MAGA, another guy, completely separate. Absolute. I mean, he was a Trump Trump 100%. No matter, I mean, flags on the back of his truck.
Well, now I know you're not talking about me.
No. Flags on his truck, bumper stickers, the whole nine, right? He was MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. And I'm like, hey, man.
And then
I was like, hey, man, you should really be concerned because you got a lot of toys. Your income is cool now, but you got a lot of toys, a lot of mortgages. You're over leveraged. You should probably start reeling some of that stuff back. No, I'm gonna go get more because Trump's gonna fix the economy, and we're gonna make America great again.
When was this?
This was the last time I talked to him was right before the election, right before we did the election night special.
Was this 45 or 47? So this was
47. This is 47. Yeah, this is 47. This is last November. So come to find out, he was one of the guys cut. Doing the first veteran wave, right? So I reach out to him. Hey man, how you doing? You okay? Man, I should have listened to you. And I told him, I said, I appreciate it, but now's not the time to tell me that. Because I told you for months what it was gonna be. Now that it affects you, now that you're over leveraged and now you don't have a job and the job market's tough, like all of these things I was telling you beforehand, and you told me to fuck off because I didn't know what I was talking about, and I'm just, I just hate Trump, and I'm up Kamala. Like he would say crazy stuff like, get out of Kamala's ass and this, that, and the other. Okay, cool, man. Good luck. So now that you're down and out, and you hit me up, hey man, I'm short. Can you loan me $300? This, that, and the other. Now we're really close, so it doesn't matter. We're close because we've thrown money back and forth. So the money part's not the issue, but the fact that I've told you that this was going to happen to you, and you basically told me to go take a walk, to the other side of town, and you come back and then you say, hey man, can you help me out? No, man, I can't, because I tried to help you and you didn't want my help. So now,
but I the cause and effect here, right? Because I go back to the whole thing of when they talk about people losing their jobs in the federal government, and you see this stuff on X, and it says, "Oh, is this what you voted for?" Yeah, that's what I voted for. I think the federal government should be cut between 10 and 20%. And
Right.
if that means friends of mine that are federal workers get cut, it sucks. I get it. But you know what? I've been laid off before. You think when I got laid off from a supervisory position 20 odd years ago that pushed me towards a different path, I was like, oh, that's not fair. How come other people got to stay and I did?
Right.
And you could say, well, you didn't vote for it. It doesn't matter. That's life. And and just because Trump got in, that wasn't like, oh, you voted for Trump, therefore you got fired. It happens. I mean, that there's nothing that says that Harris getting in, he wouldn't have got fired anyway. It's possible. I don't know. But the thing with this video that you showed, I think it's tough because now again, context, presumption of innocence, all that stuff, right? I look at that and say, here's a few points I'd love to find out before I hook, line, and sinker on what she's saying, right? Because she's a MAGA, she's conservative. I support Trump, so I should be okay.
Right.
Colorado. Okay, Colorado votes blue. What kind of who was the judge? We don't know the racial makeup of the judge. We don't know what the situation was.
Right.
We don't know if it really was self-defense. Like it goes back to, she can say all day long, it was unfair. The judge didn't do this. And the judge didn't do that.
Right.
Last time I checked, you still have a trial by jury. So 12 people found your son guilty of assault.
Right.
Is there injustice in America? Is there a imperfect judicial system? Well, yeah, of course. It's still probably one of the better systems, but there's always flaws. And if you think, there's definitely a two-tiered system. It's those with money and those that don't have money. Like realistically, if you're able to have a good lawyer, okay. But it's not a while I can understand the perception of a two-tiered system based on race. It's very different than other places in the world. And it's interesting you brought this up because I saw this today. I'm going to drop the link and KJ's going to share it. So in Great Britain, they have this council that determine, or it comes out and they basically say, this is what we are going to suggest when it comes to sentencing. They have a thing called, so they have the normal the sentencing council. Okay, so the sentencing council is who comes out and says, here's what we think the guidelines. This is what the guidelines are. Not think these. So if you are convicted of stabbing somebody, this is what you should be charged. This is how long you should be in jail. Right? It's kind of like back in the day the sentencing guidelines for the U.S. federal government, and there were a lot of problems. Right? So the sentencing council came out, but then they said as a caveat, here's the sentencing, but you have to take into account the age, the gender, and the race of the individual. And if any of those are a minority, if they are female, if they are a person of color, or if they are, person of color kind of covers it, female or person of color, or certain age, 25 or younger, you have to sentence them less for the same crime. And so the outcry has been, well, wait a minute. You're saying if a white guy who's 40 stabs somebody, let's say it's a street fight, okay? A white guy who's 40 stabs another dude. The sentencing is 10 years in jail. Okay. But if it's a 22-year-old black female who stabs somebody else, you should only sentence them for 5 years because you don't understand how hard their life has been. And so England's going, whoa, wait a minute. How you can't have two different sets of guidelines like that. Is a two. Now they're making it legitimately like, hey, you talk about the DEI, here's your EO, like you get the benefit of if your age, whatever, instead of that, just, hey, there's one for everybody. And that's why sentencing guidelines have always been horrible in terms of both, because you have people who, I don't know, a white male swimmer from Stanford who rapes a girl who's passed out in the street gets 6 months. So it goes horribly wrong that way, all the way to, I can't think of one specifically right now, but a black female who, I don't know,
changed her address so that she could vote in the election and get 6 years.
Yeah, get 6 years. That's a great one. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, exactly. Right. The January 6th versus the BLM, blah, 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 blah. There's always.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's where the system is supposed to be in the hands of supposed to be in the hands of the jury. But juries are idiots. Juries award people millions of dollars because somebody used talcum powder for 50 years and developed cancer after 50 years. So we're going to award that person $1 billion. Juries are idiots, right? Because they come from the general population. Like it says a jury of your peers, right? Okay. If I was arrested, let's say, I don't know, let's take this a little more to home. Let's say, and I can't go into all of it, although soon I will be able to. Let's say I was charged in the military. We have this thing called the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And let's say I was charged under UCMJ for whatever, right? UCMJ for, what's a good one? Disrespecting an officer.
Yeah.
Right? Disrespecting a senior officer, which I didn't do, but let's just use that. And I pushed. I said, no, I want a court martial. Ask me right now if I would trust 12 other chaplains to be my jury. That's not just no. That's the big old hell no.
Wait. All right.
I'll tell you right now. I would rather have a random group of brand new E1s judge me.
Wait. Now that you got that story out, because I've been holding it. Wait, you said
I made that up though. I have not been charged with you, Sam.
You said they elect a jury. They elect a jury of peers. So you got 12 people from society, and they're
allegedly. Yeah, they're idiots.
But wait though, that's like secondhandly saying
Liberty. I hope you're
idiots.
Liberty. That's why I'm writing that sarcastically. Liberty. I hope that's the sarcasm font.
Oh, that's why I was over here cracking up. I'm like, man, the chaplain just called society a bunch of idiots. We in trouble, man.
KJ, what do you remember what the chaplain's personal motto is?
Oh.
I'm going to type my personal motto.
Oh my God.
And I am going to post it so everybody can see exactly what this has been my personal motto for a long time.
Oh my God, man. That is hilarious. It's that on my bed. All right.
It'd be really funny if I misspelled this.
God, that is
there.
hilarious.
You go. Post that, KJ. That is Chaplain O'Neill's personal motto.
Yeah.
And has been, and it has never let me down.
I just
did it post? I don't.
Yeah, it no, it's in there.
Okay, on my side. On my side, it didn't show up.
Yeah.
If you can't see it, my personal motto is never underestimate the stupidity of people. That motto has never let me down.
Oh,
so I'm telling you right now, society writ large are idiots. Look, if I get on a jury, I'm sure one of two sides is going to call me an idiot, depending on which way I go. I've never done jury duty. I've been called. I've never got on it. Okay, final thought. I'd love to do jury duty just for the experience at some point. But I want a real one. I want to be like 12 Angry Men. I'm going to convince them. Right? But because people have bias, right? So this woman, to go back, the woman on the video, she turns around and she's black, therefore she believes it's injustice. So that's where the bias goes in, right? She has it now. She wants to reach out to the black community. Well, is she really going to reach out to the white community to say there's injustice in the judicial system?
That's the gotcha. So she reached out to her MAGA community because we're in a post-racial, post-all this society, right?
And they probably said your kid was guilty.
She found out really quickly that they don't have the care or concern for her well-being or her offspring's well-being as she believed. So she's reaching
matter. I'll tell you right now, she could have been a BLM all over George Floyd. George Floyd is the martyr of the 21st century. BLM is the greatest, blah, 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 blah. And her kid gets arrested and convicted. And she could have gone to BLM and said, please help. And they would have said, no, because it doesn't work that way.
Probably.
Loyalty to organizations only goes one way.
Yeah.
The chaplain, I've said this for years now. I can love the chaplain corps. The chaplain corps doesn't love me. The chaplain corps basically, and I've had this proven to me, couldn't care less about me. Legitimately could not get involved in a situation that was happening to me and my career. There's a reason I'm retiring this summer. And in part, it's because the chaplain corps...
They said, good luck. Wish you well. Let us know how it worked out for you. What?
Yep. I had a senior chaplain who was a good friend of mine say, sorry, I can't write an endorsement letter.
Oh.
I'm not there. I'm not involved. I can't write a letter. Okay.
Insanity.
I still love the guy, but it's coming. You guys, whatever the first Sunday after July 31st, That's going to be the story time. I am, and my wife has said, "Don't you dare!" Oh no!
I think we're gonna run ads for that one. That one's gonna be
that will be, and I will name names. I will have, if anybody wants, I will have the documents for anybody who wants them.
We are out of time. Holy scamoles. I think that's we're out of time, man. We got to pick that up next week. So we'll see you guys same bat time, same bat channel next week. Chappie, you have a great week, man. We are out of here. Pokes out.
Gee, Ray, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
All right, yo, let's get into it.
Try to take over the world. Try to take over the world.
And greatest chaplain in the world, Mr. Lance O'Neill.
Try to take over the world.